Trump has been booted off Twitter just days after his supporters stormed Capitol Hill. Trump has used his account in the past to claim fraud in the 2020 presidential election. Just on Friday, yesterday, his Twitter account was suspended after he tweeted that none of his supporters would be disrespected. In another tweet, he said he would not be attending the President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. That's on January 20th. Meanwhile, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has warned that Democrats will launch impeachment proceedings unless Trump resigns. Wits International Relations Professor John Stremlau joins us now to discuss this. Professor Stremlau, always good to speak to you. So we're sitting tonight with Donald Trump booted off his Twitter page, which is where he spread most of his messages. The Democrats are preparing to impeach him a second time. Is he finally out of rope politically?
Well, he certainly is going to be replaced by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on January 20th. That we know for certain. And what is going to happen with this impeachment case that is going to be opened, I think, tomorrow or Monday at the House of Representatives? It only needs a majority to pass, but the Senate cannot take it up this year or can't take it up this term because they're only in for 2 days. It's ceremonial, and then there's the inauguration. So that Mitch McConnell, the current majority leader, has made it plain it would have to be after the new administration takes over. Joe Biden has a very big agenda: the pandemic, the economic recovery, racial injustice, and climate change. And he's got to address those very, very quickly and comprehensively, so that I'm not sure he wants the Senate to be all tied up with an impeachment trial.
So would you say then that the Democrats are ill-advised to go that route, given that we're sitting here, it's January 9th, Trump will be out of office on January 20th, so why not just let him see out his last days?
Well, he did behave egregiously. I mean, it was clearly illegal. He fomented the violence. He justified and excused it until he gave some sort of a prepackaged, that his staff did, telling everyone to be careful and not condone violence. And the really worry is that he's not going to the inauguration. Is his base going to show up again, the extreme right, and demonstrate? And as you know, there's the other underlying issue, which is that the Black Lives Matter movement, which was peaceful last July, was very badly treated by the police and the military, but particularly the military. And in the case of the Capitol building on Wednesday night, there was very little resistance, and it was very ineffective, even though now they are arresting people and they are going to try to do a reassessment. But the racial dimension in this is very important.
And just on Black Lives Matter, that's been one of the big issues that the Trump administration has been criticized for mishandling. We know Trump, at one point when some of the Black Lives demonstrators were attacked by right-wing demonstrators, he said there were good or bad people on either side. I forget the exact quote now. And again, you point to the example of the police's softer handling of a mainly white demonstration by the Trump supporters this week. And it adds, doesn't it, to the weight of expectations and hopes that are on the Biden-Harris administration. And one has to wonder if that setup won't be their undoing, because much of the problems in the United States cannot be changed in a single term.
It can't be changed in a single term, but what people say and what leaders say is very important. Joe Biden on Wednesday night issued a statement. I heard him issue it and have since studied the text. He says, quote, "No one can tell me that if this had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol." He didn't say white thugs, but they were overwhelmingly white. I didn't see any people of color, and they were overwhelmingly male. And that's the ethnic tribal spirit that Donald Trump has fomented for 4 years, and really was complicitous in this illegal occupation for which people are going to be sent to jail. And the question is, will he ever be held accountable? And one of the things that looms in this impeachment and possible conviction is that would freeze any possibility of his ever running for office again. But he may run out of steam. We just don't know. But he did get 73 million votes in the November 3rd election, which was more than any other Republican candidate has ever gotten. And Joe Biden, of course, got 7 million more than that. and should have been elected on that basis rather than the Electoral College, but that's a whole other subject of the U.S. complexity.
A quick final one then, Professor Strimlau. It was interesting as we watched those scenes unfold on Capitol Hill on Wednesday. A lot of the American presenters and journalists were saying this does not happen in America. They were saying it seems reminiscent to what happens in quote-unquote third world countries. Do you think the events of this week and perhaps the Trump administration as a whole has finally shown American society that it is not the exceptional democracy that it imagines itself to be?
Well, that's probably not a bad thing to be reminded. It was a terrible event, but that all democracies are works in progress, all democracies are fragile, and no man is above the law, as Mandela famously said for South African democracy. And really, this episode was so far removed from anything that in my lifetime I've ever seen. The last time the Capitol was assaulted was by the British in 1814. During the War of 1812, and it is not done, and it was so shocking, and it was certainly picked up by friends and foes alike of America around the world, and rightly so, because it was appalling.
Professor John Strimlau of Wits University, where he's an international relations professor, speaking to us tonight about the latest from the United States.